I welcome the tabling of this motion by Sinn Féin on what Brexit means for the Good Friday Agreement and the people of Northern Ireland and what the Irish Government needs to do about it. I'd also like to acknowledge Sinn Féin's position on accepting the amendment that we have put forward. Las Corla, in the last 2 hours, the Taoiseach described Brexit as, quote, the most important negotiations in our history. So what's at stake? The close ties between our nations, jobs in Irish companies that trade with the UK, including in manufacturing, tourism, transport, professional services, technology and much more. The livelihoods of farmers and of men and women working in the agri-food sector, and public monies badly needed for investment in public services, in health, in education, in infrastructure. Now, the people of Northern Ireland face all of these threats too, and more. Their economy is at risk. Their jobs are at risk. Their ability to invest in services, in communities, is at risk. But so too are their rights. Their rights to be members of the European Union. Their rights as citizens of the European Union to move freely within the EU, to work freely within the EU, to do business freely within the EU. Now, Minister, yesterday we met with a civil society delegation from Northern Ireland. They're concerned that the deepening deprivation in some communities is leading to a rise in young people joining paramilitary groups. They're concerned that sectarianism is reappearing in the workplace. They're concerned that the Bill of Rights, as mandated under the Good Friday Agreement, still isn't being implemented. They're concerned that the peace process is coming under pressure, and they're concerned, Minister, that Brexit is going to make all of these things worse. Now, it would not be fair to say that this government is doing nothing on Northern Ireland in the context of Brexit. It would be fair, however, to say that this government isn't doing nearly enough for Northern Ireland. And this view is in line with civil society, that the Irish government has been detached from the Good Friday Agreement for the past 6 years. And an allegation made yesterday, not my allegation, that this government is becoming a mouthpiece for the British government. The motion before the House calls for Northern Ireland to be designated with special status within the EU, and we agree with this call, and we want to further the debate on what that means. This government's response to the challenges and opportunities of Brexit, as they pertain to Ireland and indeed as they pertain to Northern Ireland, has been too vague. What does special status actually mean? What sectors are going to be worst hit? What rights for the people of Northern Ireland are at risk? What sort of invisible border can actually stop people and goods from moving across it? What can farmers and businesses actually do to protect their incomes? Article 50 will be triggered in a few weeks' time, and we have to move from generalities to specifics. The Fianna Fáil amendment accepts the motion before the House and adds detail on what's required. It calls on the Government to negotiate for the North of Ireland to be designated a special status within the EU, including to secure the ongoing realisation of rights of citizens in Northern Ireland, to avail of Irish and by consequence EU citizenship, to safeguard the 4 freedoms of movement of goods, workers, capital and services, to protect ongoing access to EU institutions, including the European Court of Justice, the European Court of Human Rights and EU sectoral agreements, and to protect and ensure full implementation of the Good Friday Agreement and subsequent agreements. The motion calls on the Government to maintain future funding streams of peace and Interreg financing, to enter any forthcoming negotiations in cooperation with our EU colleagues, recognising the vote of the majority of citizens in Northern Ireland to remain within the EU, and to ensure that the Amsterdam Treaty, as it relates to the common travel area between the UK and Ireland, is fully respected and upheld. Minister, we need to beef up Ireland's current approach to Brexit. As a matter of urgency, a Minister for Brexit at Cabinet level should be appointed, tasked with leading a whole-of-government response to the challenges of Brexit. This "every minister is a Brexit minister" approach has been a driving force to date behind the vagueness in the government's approach. We need to be absolutely clear that special status for Northern Ireland in the context of the Brexit negotiations is by no means guaranteed. The UK doesn't support it, but rather a much weaker recognition of so-called unique circumstances. Now, the Northern Ireland Secretary specifically has stated that he believes that special status would be, quote, the wrong approach. And so the Irish state, together with the Northern Ireland Assembly, is going to have to fight for it. for the rights of Northern Ireland citizens as EU citizens and for the protections of workers' rights, for an invisible border that can actually be implemented in the real world, for the preservation of the common travel area, for the protection and progress of the peace process, for ongoing EU peace funding, for the protection and strengthening of trade in agri-food and other industries in the North and South, for the strengthening of sectoral ties between the North and South, including in energy, in health, in education and in transport, for support to the regions in the Republic that will be most affected by Brexit, and critically, for the protection and ongoing implementation of the Good Friday Agreement. Thank you.